I know that we're all pretty sick and tired of COVID these days, and a trip somewhere would be amazing. I for one have been dreaming of the sandy beaches for quite some time. A place I would also love to visit is Japan. Luscious nature, incredible culture, a unique cuisine. If I was to go though, I would definitely be staying away from a few select locations. What is good, my friends? I'm your host Nicholas Playlog, and in this video we're going to be looking at the top 5 haunted places in Japan you should never visit. Let's get into it. Number 5 on this list is Iwojima. Iwojima is one of the many Bonin islands that is located in the Pacific Ocean, pretty far away from the Japanese mainland. There are actually several reasons why you should never visit this island aside from the fact that it's haunted. This island was the location of some very important battles in World War II fought between the United States and the Japanese. This island currently houses a Japanese military base of self-defense on it, and things were not that much different in World War II. The battle that the Japanese and the Americans had lasted for 40 days and thousands of troops died brutal deaths on its shores. The current troops who are stationed here have reported sightings of ghostly apparitions that look to be in World War II outfits. These are apparently the dead soldiers from all those years ago. Their souls have yet to leave this island and are rumored to be forever marching along its shores. Like I said before though, this haunting isn't the only reason you shouldn't go here. For starters, it's a military base of self-defense now and completely closed off to the public. If you were to go, then at the very least you'd be arrested for trespassing. You also shouldn't visit this place because it houses Mount Suribachi. Mount Suribachi is a 161 meter tall volcano that is currently considered to be the most dangerous volcano on the planet. It isn't as big as Yellowstone by any means, but it is far more active, and people believe that it is likely to erupt in the next 100 years. This would be extremely detrimental for the people on the island, but would also cause massive tidal waves that could end up killing thousands on the shores of Japan and China. This, coupled with the military base, coupled with the fact that undead World War II spirits still roam the grounds, makes this place a hard pass for me. Number 4 on this list is the Whispering Tunnel. The Whispering Tunnel is honestly kind of scary as it is, a long thin tunnel that is super dark and doesn't look very well kept. The scare factor is multiplied exponentially though when you throw in the fact that there's a ghost who's haunting it. Now there are multiple stories associated with this tunnel, the 2 biggest ones involving a murder. One story depicts the tale of a young girl who was brutally murdered as she was passing through the tunnel, and now her spirit is said to haunt the tunnel. The other story talks about how a group of sick teenagers murdered a 21-year-old in the tunnel by burning him and leaving his remains there to be found later. There are also some ties to some ancient Buddhist monks who believe this area was simply a hotspot for spirits and all things paranormal. It's possible that none of these things are true, but it's also possible that all of them happened, and with the reports of the ongoings in this tunnel, I tend to lean to the latter. People who pass through this tunnel often don't make it to the end. Now that's not because the spirits have murdered them or taken over their soul or anything like that, but they've reported saying that they just can't force themselves to make it through. There have been countless reports of a serious foreboding presence the further you go into the tunnel, as if the air gets thick with a dark spirit and your innate senses tell you to stay away. It's also been said that people have felt the sensation of being pushed or pulled before, typically in the direction of where they entered. Also, considering this is called the Whispering Tunnel, there have obviously been reports of whispers and scratches. These whispers often sound like those of a little girl, further pushing the narrative that a girl has been murdered here. Truly a terrifying tunnel that probably isn't worth the scary walkthrough. Number 3 on this list is Camp Hansen. The legend associated with Camp Hansen is also sometimes referred to as the Lone Soldier. Camp Hansen is a United States Marine military base that is located in Okinawa. The camp currently has over 6,000 American troops stationed there to this day. It should also be noted that this was an area of interest in World War II, similarly to our other entry of the island of Iwojima, and saw its fair share of death. One soldier's soul seems to have clung onto this place though, and doesn't seem to want to leave. The camp has several gates to get inside, but the one under particular scrutiny here is Gate 3. It's at this gate that the ghost of a dead World War II soldier will appear. It's said that he will show himself to you and be wearing a World War II outfit that is covered in blood, seemingly the outfit that he died in. He will approach you and ask you for a cigarette, and then if you give it to him, quietly smoke alongside you until he's done. From my research, this ghost isn't evil in nature and doesn't want to harm you, he simply wants a smoke. But soldiers that got positioned at this gate started to get extremely creeped out. So much so that the gate has actually been shut down and is no longer in service. The amount of stories that people have compiled about sightings and interactions with this ghost was so much that the people who run the base thought it was best to leave the man be and just shut the gate down for good. This camp, and more specifically the gate, is considered by most to be one of the most haunted places in all of Japan. Number 2 on this list is the Roundhouse Schoolhouse. Now the Roundhouse Schoolhouse is an abandoned schoolhouse in Japan that was constructed in a perfect circle. The exterior of the building looks super eerie, and the fact that desks and school supplies still remain inside of it adds to the overall creepiness. The schoolhouse was built back in 1906 and operated as any schoolhouse would until 1970 when it closed down for economic reasons. Now what's interesting about this school and the hauntings that are associated to it is that there doesn't seem to be any big inciting incident to cause ghosts to take up residence here. Typically we hear something about a murder or something of that nature that caused a spirit to haunt that particular place. This schoolhouse doesn't have any of that. It was a regular school right up until it closed. However, that didn't stop ghosts and demons from calling it home after people left it behind. Rumors started circulating about this place and how people who stumbled upon it had heard screams or seen ghostly apparitions looking down on them from the windows. Soon it became a spot of interest to people seeking a paranormal thrill, but these thrill seekers were met with something that they weren't prepared for. People started going, and when they came back, it was as if they'd been through a battle. They were shell-shocked. They told tales of how they felt frozen where they stood and how it felt as demons were invading their thoughts when they were there. Some people who went there came back on the verge of complete insanity, as if their mind had been pushed to a place of no return. It seems like this place is host to a plethora of ghosts and demons, and I wouldn't recommend going there unless your mind is up to the task. Number 1 on this list is the Aokigahara Forest. Now, this forest is commonly referred to as the forest. Located very close to Mount Fiji, this forest boasts a plethora of large trees that are sometimes called the Sea of Trees and are truly a masterpiece of nature. Sadly, this forest has quite the sad history to accompany all of this beauty. You've most likely heard about this forest due to the scandal that happened with Logan Paul several years ago. Him and his team went into this forest to film a video, came upon a dead body of somebody who had committed and were extremely insensitive to the entire situation. This is just one of the instances of how the forest got its name, but since the early 1900s there have been countless times that have been committed here. In fact, are so prevalent there that there's even a sign at the entrance of the forest reminding people that life is a precious gift. Taking one's life isn't the only thing that's happened at this forest though. This was also a place used to practice yubatse, which is a horrible, horrible thing. This is where you take an elderly person out in the middle of nowhere and just leave them there to die. Apparently this forest used to be used as a place where people would do this. Through all of this death, the trees and the branches, they don't house just birds and animals anymore. They're deeply haunted as well. So many scary tales have been reported in this forest. A common report is a blood-curdling scream that can be heard throughout the entire area. People think that these blood-curdling screams are coming from the yurei, which are spirits of the dead who have died at sea. Typically these creatures take on the form of a humanoid fish thing with long black hair. Other strange sightings have happened here as well. Vice was doing a documentary of the forest and stumbled upon a very scary skeleton-like doll that was nailed upside down into the tree in a strange crucifixion-like manner. The crew filming believed that this was a curse left behind by somebody who had died there and wanted to stay away from that doll as much as possible. There have also been many sightings of apparitions in this forest, and some of them have even been caught on camera before. Not to mention that if you're walking through this forest, you may just stumble on somebody who's committed. This forest is overflowing with paranormal activity, and I personally wouldn't recommend visiting. Well, there you have it, guys. That is our list of the top 5 haunted places in Japan that you should just never visit. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought about this list, and if you would be interested in a part 2, comment that down below. Also, please hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.